Good evening, everyone. I call the meeting to order. Good evening to anybody who may be following us online. I'm Ian Edwards. I am the leader of the council and the chairman of cabinet. Can I just invite everybody to make sure their mobile phones are turned off? There being no members of the public present, we will dispense with the health and safety announcements and move promptly into the agenda. Item 1, please. Apologies for absence.
Chairman, Councillor Lavery has sent his apologies.
Thank you very much. Item 2, declarations of interest in matters before this meeting. Are there any additional declarations? Item 3, to approve the minutes of the last meeting. This pages 1 to 16 of the pack. Are they agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. At this point, I will invite the Borough Solicitor to make a statement of record, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to advise Cabinet that I've today written to the High Court advising that the Council's decision of the 4th of August 2022 relating to the Council's Early Years Centre has been withdrawn. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Item 4, to confirm that items of business are in Part 1 and Part 2. Members of the public, this means that Part 1 is those items in as I say, in public. And this is limited to one item, substantive item tonight, the budget monitoring. The other agenda items are in Part 2. They're private and contractual in nature. However, there is a preview report that summarises those matters, and which I'll speak to. We do have items in both parts. We'll move into Part 1, Item 5, the monthly Council Budget Monitoring Report. Councillor Goddard.
Thank you, Leader. This is the Budget Monitoring Report for month 6, which is to September of this current financial year, 2022-2023. And this is an outturn result projecting the results for the entire 22-23 financial year. The overall financial position of the Council continues to be one of stability, dependability and strength. And indeed, we're starting to see early stage benefits from our extensive transformation programme emerging. Turning to the General Fund revenue account, we have an underspend of £50,000 against our budget. That's a small negative variance of £10,000 against the previously reported position for month 5, but of course still broadly consistent. Looking at our general balances projection to the end of the financial year, they stand at 26.8 million, which is entirely consistent with earlier months. During the year, as members know, we've continued to experience exceptional pressures arising from the COVID-19 legacy, and these are continuing to be projected at 14.6 million, which is certainly lower than the pressure we sustained last year, but is £3.3 million greater than budget, and this overspend is being absorbed within our earmarked reserves. As colleagues will be aware, central government funding for COVID pressures ceased at the 31st of March 2022, and hence the full cost for 22-23, and indeed for later years, will be absorbed by the Council. Whilst inflation has had a material impact upon our costs and has also been absorbed within earmarked reserves, we started to see a number of slight improvements due to the reduction in national insurance costs, reductions in fuel costs, and good progress in the renegotiation of a number of outsourced contracts at sustainable cost levels. It's also been encouraging to note that the public sector pay settlement has now been agreed, and its results are fully reflected within our outturn projection. While central government's capping of energy costs is beneficial to many businesses who are contractors or suppliers to the authority, this has no direct benefit to us so far, as our forward purchasing contract has shielded us from some of the worst impacts of energy inflation to date. Furthermore, a number of our transformation and cost savings measures, as I've already said, started to kick in, and these factors are serving to reduce our projected use of earmarked reserves within the year, and I expect this trend to continue. Turning to our programme of savings for 22-23, this is progressing well. Of the £13.3 million savings budgeted for the year, £12.4 million are banked or are progressing towards delivery by the year end. There is a further £1 million relating to our leisure centres, which is problematical, but an agreement is under negotiation with the provider, which is expected to deliver this saving in subsequent years. Turning to capital expenditure in the General Fund, the financial year outturn is expected to be £53.4 million below budget, which is largely due to delays in the commencement of agreed projects. Substantial elements of this expenditure are expected to be rephased into later financial years. Excuse me. The dedicated schools grant position has also suffered from cost inflation in respect of high needs placements to the tune of £540,000, and this exceeds our budget. However, the projected year-end deficit is showing a further reduction to £21.8 million, which is still £1.7 million lower than last year's closing position. The housing revenue account continues to report a close adherence to budget, with a forecast surplus against budget of £43,000, being a £10,000 improvement on the position reported at month 5. Capital expenditure within the housing revenue account will be £31.8 million below budget, and this, like the General Fund, is largely due to project delays and is expected to be rephased into later years. I therefore move recommendation 1 within Part A of the report set out on page 2 of Pack B. Furthermore, within Part B of the report on page 24, the Pack sets out a number of recommendations itemised A to D, the vast majority of which have financial consequences and are self-explanatory. However, I do draw colleagues' attention to the recommendation D, which is an emergency contract decision in respect of our procurement framework for our home care and outreach services. Leader, I therefore move recommendations A to D. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Goddard, and thank you for your continued stewardship of our finances along with the finance team. Very challenging circumstances that we face, and it is comforting to know that we have such calibre of team stewarding our money. Colleagues, are the recommendations at 1 and A to D agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. Agenda item 6 is a public preview of matters that will be considered in Part B, and ordinarily I just note this for public. However, I just wish to draw attention to 2 items. The item 7, which is the first item of the report in number 6, concerns the playground refurbishment contract. And only the worst form of journalism can turn around what is an investment of £1.6 million into 23 of our playgrounds into a story that we are going to close 23 playgrounds. It is completely and utterly wrong, false, misleading, and for me is the worst form and potential threat of clickbait journalism, which is to do nothing more than encourage people to draw further into websites so that they can secure advertising revenue. It should be noted that there is no truth whatsoever in the closure of playgrounds. This is a £1.6 million investment and improvement in our playgrounds. The only other item I also wish to draw reference to is the boiler replacement programme. And this is good news. This is the council again investing in its housing stock that delivers benefits not only in terms of the CO2 within our borough, but importantly lower house heating costs for our tenants. So those are 2 items of good news within item 6. I ask that that report be noted. Is it noted?
Noted.
Thank you very much. We now turn to part 2 of the meeting and close the links. Thank you.